Do you ever find fault with others? It comes pretty easy, at least it does for me. Really, the critic is in every corner of the globe, so wherever you go, you're going to find fault finders. As a matter of fact, some people get so proficient at it that they can find faults where there are no faults. They look at Jesus, for instance. He's the only person who ever lived who was perfect. And yet the Pharisees found fault with him all over the place. So it's possible to find error when there is none. Wow! That means we better be careful about how we criticize, because if we don't know the facts in the case, we may be totally wrong in our assumptions and judgments on others. I read a humorous story of a man who had that happen to him. He was constantly finding fault with others. One evening, while waiting for the next bus, and with a crowd of people around him, he pointed to the window of a taxidermy shop where a large owl was on display. The critic, delighted with having a crowd around him, and he began to point out the terrible job the taxidermist had done on mounting that bird. That owl is absolutely the worst job of taxidermy I've ever seen in my life. They ought to put him out of business. He continued, "Look at that owl. His eyes are too big for his size. His feet are pointed in the wrong direction. The body is disproportionate. He is impossible." About that time, the owl in the window turned his head, looked at the critic, and winked his eye. They haven't seen the critic since. But maybe that's a good lesson for all of us. Maybe we're all like the man who wrote his little poem about himself, and it went like this: "Faults in others I can see, but praise the Lord, there's none in me." Fault finding can be devastating on those about us. How about your spouse? How loving and kind are we to those who are closest to us and whom we love the most? What about our children who try to do their best in pleasing us, yet we pick and peck at some minor flaw in their young life? And also, how about that young person who is just giving up because he lost heart and because of heartless criticism leveled at him? God warns against that very thing when he tells fathers, "And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath. Bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord." Ephesians 6:4. And on we could go. God covers it all when he declares in his word, "Why dost thou judge thy brother? Why dost thou set at naught thy brother? For we shall all stand before the judgment seat of Christ." Romans 14:10. Then God goes on to remind us, "So then, every one of you shall give account of himself to God." Romans 14:12. I think God is telling us, take care of yourself, Buster, and I'll take care of the other fellow. The next time you feel like criticizing someone, think of the old owl in the window. He may just be winking at you. Heavenly Father, forgive us when we're hard on others, heartless. Help us to be loving and kind and forgiving. And let's look at our own fault, Lord, and uphold and help those about us. Thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.